you. It's all you.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Helen Kirkendall, and I'm a volunteer with the Cultural Affairs Commission for Athens. And before I get started, I just want to take a moment to really say thank you to all you guys. You have a really tough job behind you or ahead of you, and you're just performing such a valuable service to our community, and we really appreciate it. So I think part of the difficulty for SPLOST is really finding the right balance between projects that take care of some of the critical needs in our community and also those projects that are special and really help to celebrate what our community is all about. And so our project, the Jackson Street Art Walk proposal, really tries to accomplish both of those objectives. What we want to do is turn an underused part of town with outdated facilities and transform it into a revitalized space and a showcase for public art for $5.2 million. So our project is located on Jackson Street between Doherty and Hoyt Street, totally on city-owned land, and it's really strategically located so that we can begin to strengthen important connections in our community through art. We can really start to bring the Linden House Art Center and really start to connect it with the downtown area. We can also make better connections with the Lay Recreation Center, which serves the community at Bethel Homes just across the street on College Avenue, and they also provide after-school programs for Barrow and Clarke Middle School. So Council on Aging is just a couple blocks away from our site. And connected to that is the Greenway, which goes ahead and connects into Athens-Clarke, another arts facility. We can also begin to better integrate some of the premier hotels in Athens, Hotel Indigo and Graduate, and start to really bring those economic drivers together, along with the visitor center and even the convention center. So we can start to integrate those together with this project. So the Hotel Indigo, the Art Walk actually builds on what is starting to happen already at the Hotel Indigo, where there is planned a creative campus, which is a project in partnership with Athens to create tech incubator spaces. And again, this is an area where we can begin to bring our city infrastructure to the same level of quality as what is already beginning to happen in this area. So this is just a picture of what the area looks like. This is looking towards downtown on Jackson Street. This is looking towards the Linden House. So the Athens Downtown Development Authority manages a parking area, and this is a photograph of that parking area, and looking at it, you can hardly tell there are cars in there. It almost looks like a park. It could be a plaza in Europe. And anyway, I think it's one of the most beautiful parking lots we have in Athens. And also like to bring your attention to the playground at Lay Park. It also has aging play structures, and it is completely surrounded by cars. It's really an island in a sea of cars. This is a photograph of the Lay Rec Center over here, and this is the parking lot, which separates the playground from the rec center. And I'd like to also point out, you can't see it, but there's a sign right here that says Children at Play. And so I think we can do better for our kids in our community. And so we decided that we could really make the idea of creative play kind of the driving force for our art walk. And we don't want to just design this as a place for adults that want to go to museums. We really want to make this a place that's appealing to children, teens, families, UGA students, grandma, grandpa, tourists. I mean, we really want this to be a place that serves everyone in Athens. So we came up with a festival art street concept. So we want to incorporate a pedestrian-oriented design that's barrier-free. We want to include plazas and spaces for events. We definitely want to relocate and upgrade that playground and make it for all ages, so it's really multi-generational. We'd also like to integrate green streets engineering and landscaping make sure we're providing for the fire trucks, and accommodate cars and parking. And of course, we want to have public art, both temporary and public art installations. So we'd like to also integrate the idea of a shared street. So we see this as a place where pedestrian, cars, cyclists can all share the street space equally. We would have slow traffic speeds, and Jackson Street is already a street with low traffic volume, so this is an ideal place to implement this kind of idea. It would be curbless, incorporate ornamental pavers, and we would have bollards or planters that can help define the pedestrian-only spaces. This is an image of where this kind of shared street concept was integrated. This is Argyle Street in Chicago, and you can see the use of pavers throughout that street area. This is Bell Street in Seattle, and you can see where they've used bollards and planting areas to define the pedestrian spaces. So on Jackson Street, what we have today is a 30-foot wide street with 2 traffic lanes and a parking lane. We have a 6-foot sidewalk in some places we have no sidewalks. So what we're proposing in this idea of creating a shared street is really reducing that roadway to a 20-foot width with 2 travel lanes, and then taking that parking lane and creating a 10-foot wide pedestrian area. And we could have a large 20-foot amenity zone, and perhaps even expand that pedestrian area so that we could have 48-foot wide pedestrian promenade. And this cross section is just an example of what that shared street might look like at Jackson Street. We haven't really designed it, and there's many ways to do that, but this is what we used as a basis for our cost estimate. So this is a plan drawing of our concept, and you can see the pavement would extend through the entire corridor. We would have this wonderful tree-lined pedestrian promenade. And key in this idea is to move the parking lot so that it's next to the foundry and make this a plaza and integrate a new playground into that plaza space. So I just wanted to share some visuals to give you an idea of what our art walk might look like. We really see having artists help us design some of the features and elements of our art walk, and this is just an artist design creative seating element. We also see integrating creative structures. Maybe they're used for seating sometimes, maybe they're just playful. We also see really kind of rebranding Jackson Street and starting to use that beautiful parking lot on weekends for events. So we really want to rebrand Jackson Street into an event space. And then of course we would have art fairs, craft fairs, we could have theater, music, lots of things going on there. And that would all be programmatic. There's also an opportunity for creating creative green spaces. There's an area right near the fire station where we could have like a pocket park that could be also nicely designed by an artist. The facade of the fire station is just a blank canvas, perfect for murals. We also see having, for example, artist competition for doing things like a shade structure. We'd like to have structures play for all ages, so this is an example of swings that are for adults. We also want to see play for all ages, including teens. Maybe we'd have a chess area. And of course, we want to have a super amazing downtown playground that's really creative. And this is an example of a playground where they have these foam structures that kids can use to create their own playground. And that'd be ideal. Lay Park is right there where kids could check out equipment. So we really tried to check a lot of boxes with our project in terms of community benefits. So we are transforming underutilized and aging city infrastructure and really taking care of that maintenance backlog and turning it into a vital community gathering space. We're providing access to art for everyone 24/7, and it'll be free. We also are going to be serving underprivileged population, especially the children and elderly, and really with quality facilities, not just cookie cutter, but from a catalog. We also are going to be strengthening the connections between our community facilities and the downtown. We also have potential to leverage public dollars with grants and partnerships. I see my time is up. I will stop. Yes.
So your $5 million, did it include moving that parking lot?
Yes.
And the road?
The road stays, it becomes narrower and it gets new paving.
And that's all included in the $5 million?
It's all included in the $5 million. Drew Rassler actually helped us with our cost estimates as well as leisure services, so it's all been vetted by the city staff.
I just wanted to, not that I have any biases, those of you who may not have been to the Linden House, which is at the far end next to Lay Park, the pit building, that is considered one of the 2 top art centers in the state of Georgia. If you have not been, it is what would be on one end of the cultural trail. A beautiful spot to enhance, making the road come up to that, where there are all kinds of other arts functions going on. The far end would go down to Dudley Park. So you have these 2 wonderful spaces at either end of what would be a cultural trail to enhance everything that's in the middle. But if you haven't been to Linden House, please go so that you begin to see the street and how it leads up to the Linden House, and take advantage of seeing what's at the Linden House because it's superb.
I have a question about on the budget, the public art is calculated at about 1%. Is that the only funding that would be available for art?
Well, one of the ideas that we had was really to use the money that we have set aside for things like benches and bollards, bike racks, trash cans, all of those structures. We could have artists help design those things. So we're already going to have an exhibit of public art when this opens without even spending any money on a statue or anything like that. And we really see this as an opportunity to do a lot of temporary art exhibits so that we could have the school kids could come and have an art fair here in the spring, and there's just lots of possibilities for that. So we didn't really want to spend a lot of money on, this is not intended to buy art pieces. It's really intended to be designed by artists and become a forum for art to be located there as we gain the artworks. And there's so many possibilities with working with, our private business owners, and I think they would just be chomping at the bit to start donating to provide that kind of thing here.
So I'm curious why I understand why you chose those 2 blocks, but why not extend in towards downtown a little bit more to Broad Street? I've heard about this project kind of being kicked around for a while, and I guess that was my impression, that it would connect to all the way to Broad Street. Is that a phase 2, or is that not part of the plan whatsoever?
Well, I think what we tried to stick to the master plans, both the downtown master plan and our master plan, which really specifically identified between Doherty and Hoyt Street. That was the area indicated. But we do see this as perhaps spurring future development and becoming the model for how Jackson Street could be developed in the future, moving towards UGA, towards Clayton, towards Broad Street. And definitely if the Federal Center were to be developed, this could certainly be developed in concert with that so that we could have a similar pedestrian kind of configuration along that entire route. Yes.
You say in the proposal that SPLOST funds could be used to leverage grant programs. It's a question of which comes first, I understand that. But has the Cultural Affairs commission applied for any grants that could be useful for this program, or is that all something that's gonna happen in the future?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I wasn't able to address that in my 10 minutes. So we recently did receive
You did not plant that question.
You did. We did get a National Endowment for the Arts grant that we're currently implementing right now. It's a mural at Morton Theater. And there is another grant program that we definitely are eyeing for this project. It's called Our Town Grant, and it funds up to $200,000, and it's a matching fund grant, and it's specifically geared towards placemaking projects. So this project is really just exactly the kind of thing that they are looking for. Yes.
You mentioned that part of the work or the art will be from local artists. Will those be local artists, or what will the process look like to get artists involved?
Well, our commission, that's much of the work that we do on our commission is solicit proposals and help to fund public art. And we always encourage our local artists to apply for our projects. And we have an extensive mailing list that we send out to all the local artists. We generally open we have a blind process, and we generally open up the art projects nationally. We usually get regional artists applying for it just by nature of the travel expenditures and all that sort of thing. But we do, as I said, we encourage local artists to participate, and we generally have, most of the work that we have already awarded goes to local artists. And the other thing that we want to do is also be able to have art that is maybe regional, so that everybody can see art projects that are maybe a little bit more, different, that come from different parts of the country or the region. So we try to balance it, but again, it's a blind process where we look at the artwork based on merit and select that way.
You mentioned that the playground will be relocated.
Yeah.
Where will
okay, so this is the parking area that we're proposing. The parking area is right here right now, and the playground is here. So what we're gonna do is move the playground here and move the parking lot here and move the playground. So we're just kind of flip-flopping it. So the playground can be really next to the rec center where it really belongs. Yes.
Could the dream be realized for less? And if so, how much less do you expect before you wouldn't be feasible?
Well, there are a lot of the variables, of course. Each time you ratchet it down, it becomes less of a beautiful space. But we did integrate and we did allow in our costs for a more innovative stormwater kind of system, infiltration retention system on the order of about $100,000. That wouldn't make or break, really wouldn't make that much of a difference, certainly visually, so we could be reducing that. We could look at that street, the actual pavement of the street. Maybe it is not as high of a quality as the pedestrian areas in terms of that pavement. We could look at doing things in that way. And we can also look at really push hard for looking for alternative sources of funding to supplement it. Yeah.
Would fire trucks be using the road?
Yes.
And is that one of the reasons that closing it to vehicular traffic was such an option?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's also just the idea of the shared streets. Also, the theory is that the more use there is in a corridor, especially kind of a little bit of a backwoods like this, the more activity there is, the safer it is, the more eyes there are on an area, and it's also just, it seems more vital. When you start closing it off and there's only pedestrians, sometimes that has a deadening effect. So actually the cars, if they are, travel at low speeds, they can, a lot of European cities are like that. They just all share the spaces together, and it's a dynamic kind of way of designing streets.
So in the proposal, it says the life of the project is like 50 years or so. And you talk about the balance when you're looking at local artists versus artists outside of the area to create art for the wall. I guess, what will be your quality control measure to ensure that quality art that lasts 50 years is actually put in art?
That is part of our review process. When we look at proposals, we look at what the artist has done in the past. We review the materials, and in some cases, we even have engineers and architects look at some of the proposals to make sure that they're safe and done to engineering standards in some cases. And we also do maintain the artwork, public art, and so when there is a maintenance need, we use our funding and other city funding to take care of those maintenance needs as well. Anything to add to that?
Perfect timing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.